Welcome to the Doc G Show, a radio show cluster. Without further ado, critics have said he has the face for radio and a voice for silent films. Your host, Ben Doc G Gordon.
And we are on the air. Welcome to the Doc G Show. I'm your host, Doc G. With me, as always, the one, the only, Mikey Maximus, the dad.
Say what?
Charette.
Yes, Doc G. What's up, sir?
Oh, nothing much. That's you, Mike.
Yeah.
You're the dad.
Or as I refer to it as, I call myself not mom. I am not mom. Yeah. This is not mom.
Hey,
There's mom and then there's not mom.
Yeah, that's better than anti-mom.
Okay.
It's, yes, not mom. I would say, like, for me, I don't know about you, but I was a little biased when I was growing up. I definitely did basically go to my mom much more than I went to my dad.
Yeah.
You know?
Why,
now
were you
it's
scared of him?
No, it was just like, I don't know. It was just like, that was always like, Mom, that was always the
Mom,
first
can I get
thing,
away with
you know?
this, please?
Yeah,
get away with that.
It was always, that was the regulator, so it always went there, you know. But, Mike, I want to inform listeners, you have been following the ways of the show, and you went out and you purchased something. What did you purchase?
I purchased a bidet.
That's right, listeners.
A
bidet seat.
I made the
Get
move.
excited. But before you get excited, listeners, Mike has a harrowing tale. What happened,
Yes. Mike? So I watched a YouTube video, and I was like, I can install this bidet myself. How hard can it be? The video was only 2 minutes long.
Can't do it.
And and I messed up. I broke a hose.
Yes, you told me this in text message, Mike. You said you broke this hose. Now, I mean, like, you didn't, like, cut it or anything, right? It ripped on you.
Yeah, it ripped.
I don't think that's your fault, you know, because you were saying that. I
appreciate that.
You were saying that, like, you were taking full responsibility. You're like, I told the landlord this is all my fault. And, like, no. That's his fault for having a faulty hose in your apartment. Yeah. That's not, you update your hoses. That's not, that's not your fault, Mike. Don't put it on your shoulders.
Thank you, Doc J. I appreciate that. Thank you.
It was a pain in the so your bathroom flooded. Did it actually were you
it didn't flood, but man, we were hit with about, I don't know, I'm exaggerating here, but 1,000 gallons of water within like 1 minute of him being like, all right, you ready? And I'm like, yeah, let's go. And then, you know, I had like literally all of the towels in my apartment in the bathroom at the, you know, and they were all totally saturated with water. He was soaking wet. I was soaking wet, but he got the valve on after the third try. And now
it's updated. So now it's not the old school one. You can actually shut it off.
We can and then we can replace the hose if something goes wrong with the hose. The other one was all one piece.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful.
It is beautiful.
So now, if you want to upgrade your bidet, you can.
I can, yeah.
I know what Mike's getting for his birthday, everybody.
Uh-oh.
That's right. Oh,
Heated
my God.
Seat.
I was about to say, you're going to be sitting like a king, Mike. I'm going to get you one. It's going to have lights. It's going to have a sound system. It's going to vibrate your butt. I don't know what they do.
I'm down for it all.
But you were saying, Mike, the one update that you would like, maybe a line for heated water, right?
Yeah. I think heated water, but then I think the update before that, I mean, everybody, I bought the most simple Amazon bidet you can buy, you know, because I don't believe it. I think it's all bull crap. And,
you believe it,
but
Mike.
It's not. It's not, folks. I definitely suggest it. But yeah,
you were turned a believer as soon as that jet spray went in your butthole, Mike. I know. Huh? I know.
Exactly. This is a fact. But yeah, some kind of mister or something. Maybe not such just a pressured stream of water.
Yeah.
Maybe some kind of mist.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Did that happen the first time? Was it a jolt the first time?
Yeah, you turn it too far too fast. You underestimate the pressure of the water coming out of that little nozzle, and you're like, whoa,
I can see. Well, Mike, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
I'm very glad that even though you had the bump in the road, you didn't judge the bidet, and now you're part of the bidet family. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
I figured it would be good for the show. That was part of it.
Well, I did something for the show. Not really, but I had a fun weekend.
Yeah,
I went
of course.
and I saw Ali Sadiq, our last guest. I saw him live and in full effect. He did an amazing job. Packed house. His opener, Marcus D. Wiley, shout out to him. He did a good job too. He talked about how he was too old to have sex with his wife anymore. I thought that was pretty funny. I enjoyed that. It was nice. But I will say there's one thing I could do with a little less of, and this had nothing to do with Ali or Marcus. They did a great job. I could do a little bit less. There was a good number of folks around me. Anytime Ali said something funny, they had to repeat exactly what he just said. Exactly. Like he would say something and they would just repeat it verbatim. And I'm like, yeah, he just said, we all heard it. We didn't need you to say it. Like, I don't, like, this is a little advice for those people that do that in a show. Like, tuck that away. If you're going to do that, like, that's fine. But whatever you thought was really funny, tuck it away, put it in your pocket, and then when you get in your car with whoever you went to the show with, pull it back out.
Oh, yeah.
And be like, I was back there dancing with the Lowry seasoning salt. And you just did a callback. That's a callback. And then you'll be funny. But when you do it 3 seconds after the person said it, not a callback. You're just repeating things and being stupid. Like, that's not,
Parroting.
Other than that, Mike, it was fantastic. And that didn't really detract too much. That was just me going, what? That was basically it.
Yeah.
But Mike, good show. I said hey to him after the show. He told me I was a great interviewer. And when he told me that, I sort of wanted him to go back on stage and announce it to everyone in the theater. Could you do another show and just say that?
Yeah,
like
right.
The start of the show? Maybe like point me out or anything?
Could I actually get a video of you? I'm just trying to
send this
to Tom Brady's management so they know.
TB will get it. He'll get it. But regardless, Mike, it was great. And I also got to mention this about Ali real quick. Ali and the show posted a post on Instagram. It was a clip of him talking about learning observation skills, and he quotes a Jay-Z song in the clip. He quotes the Jay-Z song, "You Don't Know." That's the song. And he said, his like observation skills, he thought about 3 lines in that song. And the last line, he didn't really get exactly correct. It was one of those things that he couldn't remember it exactly. And he sort of said it. And he was like, yeah, you gotta jump out of the van. You got it. But obviously, everyone got the gist. I got the gist. And Mike, I got to say, this is why I hate comments on any social media. Because, like, I go on there, I look on the comments, and somebody felt the need to go in and write the exact lyrics as a comment and say, that's the actual lyric, but I get his sentiment. Oh, wow, really? You have Google, too? That's amazing that you could find those lyrics, you knob job. Like, of course. Everybody can find them. We all knew they weren't the exact lyrics. That's not what we needed. We all have Shazam. I was just like, God, man.
Yeah.
Like, people like that, Mike.
So annoying. This is why we need a downvote button on the old Instagram, Facebook. We need
exactly.
some downvote.
Or like, as a group, you can vote to suppress someone's commenting power for a while. Like, no, you've lost your power to comment. That's, I'm sorry. That's
you have to
stupid.
wait 3 posts for a comment.
Exactly. You gotta be a couple of days. We're suspending this notion. Like, it's just, Just ridiculous. But Mike, before we fire the show up, I do want to bring up one other thing that I'm a little concerned about. You know who we haven't heard from in a while?
Who is that?
The Illuminati.
Oh, yeah. No emails?
You know? No.
I haven't either.
Yeah, I mean, listeners, if you're not up, if you're some new listener here, shame on you. Shame on you for not listening earlier, but thank you for listening now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Listeners, they were courting us pretty hard during the summer. It was obvious they wanted us.
That's a fact.
I mean, they were sending us emails, and as we mentioned when they were sending us emails, these weren't just some kind of spam. But these were legitimate Illuminati emails. They were signed the Illuminati.
Yeah.
So you know it's true. All right? And I haven't got any more back, you know? I've even checked the spam folder like they told us, Mike. Nothing. So I don't know if it's something we did, you know? Maybe we can introduce someone new on the show that will really tickle their fancy. I don't know.
Yeah, what's some?
We need to ballpark it though, because I don't want to lose the opportunity. You know?
Yeah, me neither.
It's very important.
For sure.
While we work on, I'm going to write down a couple of ideas. While we work on that, Mike, do you want to fire the show up?
Let's fire up this show, Doc G.
All 3 engines up and burning. 2, 1, 0, and lift off.
Oh, Mike, my goodness. Fantastic show. Yes! Woo! We have the fantastic hip-hop artist, Brother Ali, on the show.
Nice.
My goodness. Live from Turkey. Well, actually, it won't be live because it's a recorded interview, but
That's a fact.
he recorded it from Turkey. That's where he lives.
And it was live at the time.
It was live at the time, yes. Yes, that's how most recordings work, unless you have some kind of fancy machine, like a time machine,
Coming
I guess.
to you from the future.
Exactly.
This is not live.
Mike, but he's got a new album coming out, and he's just a good time. He's just he's a fun guy to talk to. We talk about some good things. We talk about Atmosphere. I know you're a huge Atmosphere fan.
I love Atmosphere.
You know, he's been making music with Atmosphere for decades. His new album is with half of Atmosphere as far as the production there. Ant did the production, so boom.
That's right.
Can't wait to talk to him. But first, Mike, we need to start where we start.
Birthday suit.
Happy birthday, Mr. President.
Mike, this first one, if you don't get it, it's going to be very embarrassing. It's going to be extremely embarrassing if you don't get it.
All right, let's go.
Born on January 15th, 1929, he is the most famous civil rights leader in American history. He has a federal holiday on the third Monday of January. Name that birthday suit wearer, Mike.
Abe Lincoln?
No. I'm censoring that out. I'm going to blur that out so listeners can't hear what you said.
All right. He's got a
Think
federal
about
holiday.
Federal holiday. What's the holiday next week that we have?
I don't
It's
know.
the third Monday of January.
Is it Martin Luther King?
There we go. Martin Luther King. All right. Okay.
I didn't know. Well, the 1929 thing threw me off. I was like, wow, he was born in 1929, but I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
It worries me a little bit that you thought maybe that Abraham Lincoln was born
So true.
in 19...
Wow. All right. Yeah, you're right.
Anywho, let me go back here. He was born in Atlanta, Georgia. His dad was a preacher at Ebenezer Baptist in Atlanta. His father was a civil rights leader. I didn't know this. His father actually did some civil rights leading himself. He actually took several hundred African Americans there to City Hall protesting voting rights back in 1936. His dad did. That's wild. He ended up going to Morehouse College to be a preacher. After undergraduate, he went to Crozier Theological Seminary School in Pennsylvania. Then in 1951, he went to Boston University. That's where he obtained his Ph.D. in systematic theology, becoming a Dr. Martin Luther King. His first act of civil rights leadership was the Montgomery bus boycott. That was the whole Rosa Parks deal there. That's a fact. Then he helped organize the Albany movement in 1961, then the Birmingham campaign in 1963. Then in 1963 as well, he did the March on Washington, which is where he delivered the I Have a Dream speech. He then participated in the Selma voting rights and delivered his How Long, Not Long speech. In 1964, he won the Nobel Prize for leading nonviolent resistance to racial prejudice. In 1968, our birthday suit wearer and the SCL organized the Poor People's Campaign that was trying to help any person of any background and any color come out of poverty. And on April 3rd, he delivered his I Have Been on the Mountaintop speech. Sadly, the very next day, April 4th, he was assassinated. One of the most important figures in American history, Martin Luther the King.
Yes.
I should have just done this. I should have just been named this
gosh.
person.
That's
there
so
you go.
funny. It's so funny because I always make fun of myself for not getting his wife's birthday suit, and then I didn't get his birthday suit. And that's
you got there.
And then I said Abe Lincoln. That's hilarious, bro.
Just with just one incorrect guess at the beginning. Happy birthday to MLK. So obviously his actual birthday the 15th, and then his the MLK Day is the third Monday of every January. So happy birthday to MLK. Definitely.
Happy birthday.
Definitely a huge, huge deal. If you get time, folks, on MLK Day, do a little service. That's what he always wants you to do. Do something. Pick up some trash, help somebody. Maybe even, I don't know, put away a grocery cart that you see that somebody didn't put away. There's a little service, just a little something. A little something. Do a little something for somebody. That's what MLK would have wanted. Mm-hmm. Anywho, Mike, are you ready to fire it up? Are you ready to rip some headlines?
Let's rip some headlines, Doc G.
It's now time for Rip from the Headlines.
Whew! I forgot where I was in the show there for a second. What was that all about? Mike, I've got a headline from People.
People magazine.
Oh.
Our People. What do I say? I don't know. I don't know.
Normally you say People, our people, but you were just like...
I'm so thrown off by Abe Lincoln that it's just going to be for the rest of the show.
Oh, no.
He's totally thrown off.
He's derailed
Hilarious.
completely. Here's the headline, Mike. Quote, woman pulled back from her boyfriend of 19 years after he joked she will have to wait until she's 65 for him to propose. End quote. I got to say, Mike, it took her until the joke to pull back. She didn't pick up on the fact that he wasn't going to propose from 19 years of dating. It's a pretty big indication. How long does it take this lady to call Amazon about a package that hasn't arrived yet? I ordered those towels 7 years ago. Still haven't showed up.
Let's not rush things.
Gonna wait.
Let's not jump to conclusions.
We're gonna see, but this is starting to become concerning. I'm a little worried. Come on. So apparently, this Mike was from a popular website in the UK, and the lady said that posted it. The excuse is always the same. The excuse from him is either we can't afford it, or we will see how things go. And Mike, I don't have to tell you. You know me. I'm not a fan of weddings.
Nope.
But I can tell this lady right now, one, cost isn't a thing. It cost $120 to get married at the courthouse.
Yeah.
Two, his comment of we'll have to see how things go. Do you have to see any more? We've been taking the scenic route for 19 years. You haven't got anything from that yet? Like, come on. Ridiculous.
Yeah, it is.
As a lot of people say, either crap or get off the pot. You know?
Yeah.
It's one of the two. Now,
It's a good saying.
Now, again, Mike, if I were in this relationship, I'd be like, maybe we should just not get married. And if the other person is like, sounds good, then you're in the right relationship.
There you go.
But,
That's true.
But these two people, they want two different things, Mike. So I'd say go ahead and call that one ends, you know?
Yeah.
Go ahead and wrap that up. Mike, I have a very important headline from Eating Well. Eating Well. Here it is.
Eating well. All right.
Yep. Quote, Selena Gomez's go-to Taco Bell order has 31 grams of protein.
There we go.
Say what?
Come on, Mike. What are they doing to us here? You know what she orders? Take a guess. What do you think? Because she actually gave this in a Golden Globes interview. She said what she orders.
I don't know, like a steak burrito. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what would have that much protein.
She said her order is not complete without a Mexican pizza and a chalupa.
A chalupa.
What? A chalupa. She's eating a chalupa, and Eating Well is trying to masquerade this as healthy eating. She's ordering a savory funnel cake with beef, and they're like, good option right there. Like,
sounds delicious.
Come on. This is what they say, Mike. In the article, they literally say the chalupa is a good option if you're looking for a menu item that supplies both fiber and protein.
Ooh.
What? Get out of here, man. Like, Taco Bell chalupas supply protein and fiber. Yeah, they supply protein and fiber like ocean water supplies hydration. Yeah, it contains the key ingredient, but you're going to have some side effects when you have it. Like,
Yeah.
get out of it. Ridiculous, man. But it's not healthy at all, Mike. We can both agree on that.
I can agree.
That's not. But I will say, even though she's ordering something that is clearly and flagrantly unhealthy, props to Selena for that boss move right there. I did not think it was going to be a chalupa, Mike. You know? Like we mentioned before, I thought it was going to be a powder puff crunch wrap, you know?
Something, yeah.
She's out there making CEO moves. I want a chalupa. You wrap my beef in a fried piece of bread. I want it that way, man.
Yeah. Shout out to Selena Gomez, always coming through. Taco Bell rep.
She is. I mean, they need to pay her a lot of money because that's been like 90% of the headlines about Selena Gomez for the last even like I said, even when she got engaged, they're like, is this thing sponsored by Taco Bell? I think it is. My God. Anyways, Mike, I've got a headline from All Recipes. Quote, Taco Bell is adding 3 new menu items.
Yes.
Somebody call Selena Gomez. Get her on the phone. Now, I was really excited about this, Mike, but I checked it out. There's really only one pretty exciting menu item, and then 2 of them are drinks. And I mean, you know, that's not really yeah.
Drinks don't count, yeah.
No, I mean, it's cool, sure, but I don't know. Mike, the menu item that they're introducing, steak garlic nacho fries.
I love that. That sounds great.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a beautiful, skanky trash food that we would expect from Taco Bell. Yes! And, I mean, I will tell you this right now, and I mean this wholeheartedly, Mike. If I wasn't concerned that it would kill me, I would eat 3 of them right now. just right in. Those fries look really good. And I'll be honest, Mike, we have attested how much we love Taco Bell on the show. I have yet to have their fries.
Yeah, me too. They do look good, though.
Oh, yeah.
I think we've done top 3 fast food fries, right?
No, we've never done that one.
Okay.
We know. Mike's like, all right, I'll put that down on the list. All right.
Noted.
But so the other new additions, Mike, Baja Dream Freezes. It's
Okay.
basically like a Baja Blast Slurpee, and then they just throw some fruit and cream in there. And I mean, don't get me wrong. It sounds delicious, but like, I'm not going to Taco Bell for that.
No.
That's not happening, But anyways, steak fries. That's some good stuff there. That's some good stuff.
Yeah.
Mike, I've got an interesting one from iHeartRadio. Do you know Lizzie Hale?
No.
She,
I don't think so.
Her band is Hailstorm. Have you ever heard of the band Hailstorm?
No.
Yeah.
I haven't.
They're a rock group. They have some big songs. They had a song, I Get Off. There was another one, I Miss the Misery. There's a song, Freak Like Me. Anywho, have you heard of the band Tool?
Of course.
Yeah.
Definitely no Tool.
Yeah, they've had some pretty huge songs. 46 and 2, Schism, Vicarious, The Pot. You would classify them as like a real heavy prog rock band. They're progressive rock, but they got a lot of sort of metal
Prog rock.
undertones.
Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't know that. I thought you meant like the country or like the place Prague.
No, they're not in Prague. That is for sure. No. Prague is
rock.
in progressive. Yes.
Gotcha.
Mike, the reason I bring all of this up is it involves the headline. Here's the headline. Quote, Lizzie Hale once dumped a guy for falling asleep at a Tool concert. How the hell do you fall asleep at a Tool concert, Mike? Like, I can't fall asleep with 5 pounds of melatonin and a tranquilizer. And this dude is falling asleep with 140 decibels of guitar coming at him. It's amazing, man. I wouldn't dump him. I might dump him, but at least I'd be like, hey, can you give me some tips? What is it, a tea, a relaxation method? How do you do it? Like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
It's great. Like, I couldn't fall asleep at a poetry reading contest. And this dude's falling asleep at a Tool concert. This is amazing, man.
Yeah, I don't know. White noise. Something to him.
Apparently, or maybe you're just like sleep deprived. Maybe you hadn't slept in like 5 days.
That'll
or
do it.
something,
That'll do it.
I don't know,
That'll do
but yeah, she didn't explain it either. Like, that'd be my first thing if I were her in that interview and I said, he fell asleep. If I were her in that situation, the first thing I'd be like, how did you fall asleep? How did that happen? How did you do? Like, even if you don't like the band, that doesn't matter. Like, I'm not going to fall asleep. I'm just going to sort of sit there and stare at my shoes the whole time. Like, it's crazy.
He's got to get his hearing checked or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's nuts,
Maybe he's
man.
like slightly deaf.
That could be it. Mike, I've got a headline from
Sorry, Doc G, I'm so sorry. Prague is a city, not a country. Just wanted to correct myself.
of the Czech Republic. Yeah,
I'm an idiot. All right.
Yeah, it's
Anyways.
fine. Mike, that's mine.
Abe Lincoln.
Mike, this is from the Washington Post. Quote, they've divorced 50 years ago. Recently, sparks flew and they remarried. Mike, did these people not learn anything from Ben and J-Lo? You don't try to go back over burnt bridges. Come on now.
No. Yeah.
I will say, though, Mike, how old do you think these people are?
I don't know. 80.
89 and 94.
Nice.
So
there you go.
they don't have too much time anyway. So, come on. I mean, who knows? The oldest person out there right now is 116. So they could have 20 more years. Who knows? Bob Rinrick and Faye Gable. That's the two folks, Mike. They first got married because Faye was pregnant and she was 16. He was 21, Mike.
Huh?
That's statutory in some places.
Little,
but,
yeah.
Apparently it wasn't a problem in Pennsylvania. They just got hitched. And then apparently they got divorced the first time, and it wasn't contentious, Mike. They were just sort of like, hey, I'm going to go this way, you go that way. All right. And they'd see each other from time to time, and they'd hang out from time to time. They'd sit beside each other at church, apparently, every now and then.
Oh, okay.
You know? I feel like if I were beside him at that church, I'd be like, still doesn't matter. You guys got divorced. You're still going to hell. I'm sorry.
Going to hell.
Doesn't matter. But they got remarried. How does that work, Mike? What do you think there? What's that all about?
Courthouse, probably.
Does God let that one slide? He's like, well, you were going to hell, but then you got remarried.
Well,
so
I'll let it go.
You know, like that's man, I'm gonna have to go ask some priests that as a question. Here's a toughie for you. Oh man. Anyways, you know what? Bob and Faye seem like they're having a good time now.
Yeah.
You know? And they literally, in the article, too, they had where Bob was making moves on Faye.
Oh.
And they were like, yeah, one day he put his hand on Faye's knee, and she was like, I don't want no hanky-panky. And he was like, but your knee looks so nice.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, whoa, easy with the porn, Washington Post. Come on. Jeez.
That was actually in the article?
It was. It was
that's
in the
hilarious.
article. Yeah, it was there.
Just making a joke, Doc G.
No, it was in there. It was in there. Mike, I've got a headline from the Drive, little auto news here. Quote, Honda-Nissan merger could mean more big trucks for Americans, end quote. Finally. Right? I was writing right before the show, Mike. I was writing a list of things that Americans need. And top one, more big trucks.
More trucks.
I was like, you know what this country needs? Compensators. That's what we need. We need more of those. Yeah.
I don't see a lot of Honda trucks, though, you know?
No, you don't. Well, that's
No.
the thing, is I think they're thinking they're going to take the Nissan truck and then Honda's going to inject it with their
okay.
stuff, whatever.
Okay.
You know, but I like I've seen a couple of headlines about this, Mike. I'm surprised. I love both of those companies, man. I love Hondas. I love Nissans. They're both very dependable cars.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what? I love both of those Japanese car makers. Get a hoorah from me. They don't need to merge, in my opinion, but I'm guessing financially, apparently they do. But in my head, no sir. And Honda Nissan, I don't need a bigger truck, so don't worry about that for me. Go ahead and check that off of the Doc G list.
I'll take a massive truck, Doc J.
Mike wants one.
I'm down.
Yeah,
I did own a small truck, but I would like a huge, massive truck. Not to overcompensate for anything, but like, you know.
I love it. I will say I started with a Jeep, Mike, and I will say the one benefit, I've always had small cars after that Jeep. The one thing that I loved about having the Jeep, whenever you'd pull in somewhere, you never have to worry about scraping your bumper, ever. And with any low-setting car, that's all I do. Every single place I pull into, oh, and then you gotta back up. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I actually ripped my front bumper off like a couple months ago. Yeah.
I've never done it that much. I've never gotten that.
It was like a you know, I don't know. It doesn't matter. I ripped it off. It sucked. But yeah, I never had that problem with the truck.
I got rid of that thing.
Oh, the problem with the truck though, people throw the trash in the bed when you go into the grocery store. You come back out. There's a random Baja Blast cup in your truck bed now.
Well, that's why. Not a Taco Bell citizen. They wouldn't do that, Mike. Come on, they're better than that.
Of course, it's always McDonald's. Just a full bag of McDonald's.
Trashy McDonald people. That's why you get an SUV like a Jeep instead.
There you go.
Something close. Mike, let's take a break.
All right.
We're gonna hear some Brother Ali. We're gonna be right back here on the Doc G Show. And we are back here on the Doc G Show, Spinnaker Radio, WSKRLP 95.5 FM in Jacksonville, Florida. Mike, what do the listeners need to do if they are so inclined?
Well, if they are so inclined and they feel like our show is a positive way to waste their time, they should please subscribe to the show wherever they consume their podcasts.
Yes.
Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. We're on SoundCloud. It is a cost-effective way to support the show. And listeners, if you are feeling extra generous, please leave us a 5-star review. And
Amen.
I already said that. Yeah,
Hey,
thank
no,
you.
you can say subscribe
guys.
again. You can always subscribe.
Yeah, just say it. Just
Mike,
subscribe.
we are on our quest to get to the top of the search results for Spotify when you put in the Doc G Show. When you put in the Doc G Show, we want ours to be the number one result. Not Dr. Hyman, not other shows that have nothing to do with the Doc G Show. You type in the Doc G Show, and then Caller Daddy comes up there, and you're like, what the does that have to do with the Doc G Show?
Doesn't even have Doc G in the title.
Not
I think
at all.
I meant, like, please search for the show, but I guess they would have to do that anyways to subscribe to the show.
And remember, listeners, if you're doing it on Spotify, you're going to have to search for a while. You're going to have to dig a little bit. But when you find it, it'll be worth it.
You could say Doc G Show Ali Sadiq or Doc G Show
That's true.
Lewis
That
Black.
would
That would
also
probably
help.
bring it up
That
a lot
would help.
faster. But search for it on your friends' phones as well.
Yes.
Anyways.
Still people's phones. Every phone
Yeah.
you can find. I mean, even like Mike brought up, maybe just go into stores.
Yeah, go to the
and
Mac store if they have
See if they
Spotify
already
on.
have it loaded on there, Spotify.
Well, they would have
and
iTunes.
They could have
Probably.
Spotify on there.
Yeah, they might.
You never know. Check it out, but maybe just go to like a store, a Best Buy, that has
Best Buy, there we go.
Droid section, and you can go on all the Samsungs and just load it up. Regardless, we're giving you a lot of homework. I'm sorry, listeners. Mike, we need to thank the people that have already done their homework.
Yes.
We need to thank the 5-star listeners. Here we go. Shout out to Boynton, Virginia, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Columbus, Ohio, Falkenstein, Germany, Jacksonville, Florida, Columbia, South Carolina, Radford, Virginia, Gainesville, Florida, Frankfurt, Germany, Anoka, Minnesota, Ashburn, Virginia, Piracai, Brazil, San Diego, California, Dublin, Ireland, Boardman, Oregon, Genoa, Italy, Richards, Texas, Barcelona, Spain, Winfield, West Virginia, Biloxi, Mississippi, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Peoria, Illinois, Katy, Texas, Toms River, New Jersey, Olive Branch, Mississippi, Asheville, North Carolina, Los Angeles, California, Spartanburg, South Carolina, Athens, Georgia, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and Chicago, Illinois.
Nice.
Had a couple of screw-ups in there, but, it wasn't my worst run. I kept the tongue going, Mike. I didn't completely fall over on my face. So, you know. And, Mike, shout out to the old Los Angeles, California there. Shout out. Hope everybody's doing okay. I noticed
for sure.
I noticed the listens actually went up this week. I definitely don't think our stupid voices can make anybody feel better, but, if they can, let it happen.
Yeah.
Let our voices serenade over you guys. Regardless, Mike, we need to do a little thinking of the 4-star listeners.
Shout out.
We do.
Mike, they didn't have the most listens this week, but I put them at the top of the 4-star listeners. You know who it is?
Who is that?
Dhaka, Bangladesh.
Nice.
Yes,
We love you,
guys.
Bangladesh.
That's right, we do. We are winning you over despite Mike's negative comments last week. We are disregarding those. You are at the top of our list, Bangladesh.
Love you
Yes. Keep them coming, guys. You are a wealth of folks to listen to the show. Like, I forget what I said, 26 million people. If all of you can listen at once, my Lord, will we have a powerful population of Doc G listeners. My goodness. Keep listening, Dhaka. We love you.
That's right.
Victorville, California, Mike. Victorville. Don't know him. But shout out to them. Shout out to Weston, Florida. Getting close to being regulars there, Weston. We appreciate it. Shout out to you guys. Fort Mill, South Carolina. Woo! Definitely been going through Fort Mill a long time, Mike. You ever been to Fort Mill?
No, I don't think so.
Right below Charlotte. If you go on the old Interstate 77, you'll go through Charlotte, you'll go through Fort Mill. Yeah.
Oh, then I've definitely passed through, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'd say so. Folks from Fort Mill sometimes call it Fort Thrill. It's a little play on Fort Thrill. Yeah,
I see.
It's a little inside there. A little inside for you.
Yeah, I can see
London, England, Mike. Shout out to them. How about this? Calabash, North Carolina. Had to look up where Calabash was. Didn't know where that place was.
Nope.
That's on the old coast there. It's not too far from Myrtle Beach. The Dirty Myrtle. It's like 30 minutes above, maybe 20 minutes above Dirty Myrtle there. So
Okay.
There you go. Aurora, Colorado. Shout out to Aurora. You ever been to Aurora, Mike?
No, I don't know.
Well, you've been to Denver, right?
Definitely been to Colorado, Denver, yeah.
Yeah, it's just outside of Denver.
Okay.
It's like a little bit south. It's south of Denver. It's like southeast of Denver.
Yeah, I went to my buddy's dispensary farm, and we just drove for an hour in a direction, and I don't know where I was.
They blindfolded me, and I just went there.
Pretty much. We went to the middle of the woods, and
nice.
Great time.
I'm guessing there was a lot of weed smoked at that time.
Oh, yes. I slept in a room that was they were drying weed in it, and it was like the best smell I've ever just been encompassed by. It's just a bunch of drying weed. It was great. Anyway,
Good times.
It was a party.
Good times. Mike, I've never particularly stayed in Aurora, but I've stayed right beside Aurora. For whatever reason, whenever I go to Denver, I'm one of those creatures of habit.
Yeah.
So, like, when I go there, I'm like, I got to stay in the same spot that I stayed last time. So every time I went to Denver, I stay in Cherry Creek.
Oh, okay. That sounds nice.
Yeah, Cherry Creek area is where I stay. You can look it up, listeners. There's a DoubleTree there. I've been to that DoubleTree several times, mainly because of their cookies. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Delicious cookies. But yeah, it's one of those, it's just a go-to. I always find an area of a city and I'm like, this is my spot.
Yep.
And then I find it so hard to get out of that spot. So Cherry Creek's my spot. Shout out to you guys. And it's very close to Aurora. It's right, literally, it's I don't know, 3 miles away from Aurora, 4 miles, it's right there. Anywho, shout out to you guys. Appreciate it. Albuquerque, New York. Not New York. Albuquerque, New Mexico. There we go. Albuquerque, New Mexico. And then lastly, shout out to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. There we go. Mike, thank you to all the listeners that have listened to our show. We do greatly appreciate it.
We do.
Please keep listening. And listeners that are listening now, hold on, because we will be right back with none other than Brother Ali right here on the Doc G Show. Welcome back to the show, everybody. We are very excited to be welcoming a fantastic musician, lyricist, artist who is getting ready to release his newest album, Satisfied Soul, in February. Brother Ali. Brother Ali, what's happening?
Man, I'm great, man. I'm happy to be with you. Just got done doing a U.S. tour.
Yeah.
It was a huge success. Really just so grateful, man, to be in this position and offering new music.
Fantastic. So now, you like you said, you just got finished with the tour. Have you had time to get back to Istanbul? Are you in Istanbul now?
I'm in Istanbul. Yeah,
Nice.
I'm just kind of settling in. It's funny, I've lived here for 4 years now.
Yeah.
And so going back and forth was always an adjustment, but
Yeah.
I've lived here for long enough that it's more of an adjustment to be in America than it is to be in Turkey. Like now Turkey feels normal, America feels strange, but I love them both.
Nice. Well, I've got to admit, I don't know a lot about Istanbul, but I do know the city is a pretty big fan of cats. Is it really like I see in some social media posts Are cats just sort of cruising around everywhere, just sort of
Yeah,
walking in and out of places?
yeah, man, cats run the city. And I mean, they have complete rights. They're first class citizens. I
Nice.
mean, seriously, you see them everywhere from all over the streets, and people feed them and take care of them.
Right.
And you know that in America, there's this kind of thing about being a Karen. People in Istanbul, like in Turkey, do not bother each other as long as you don't mess with cats or elders or kids. If you're nice to cats, you're nice to kids, you're nice to, women, people just completely leave you alone other than that. But I mean, you'll see cats chilling in the doctor's office and in the mall and in the bank. Like literally there'll be a cat chilling like on someone's desk in a bank. And if you were to like shoo them, you would be wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I get it. That makes a lot of sense to me. I don't see why. What are they hurting? They're just hanging out. They just want a good place to sleep, man. What?
Yeah, and I mean, it's one of the things that just keeps a society merciful, caring, loving. There's just the idea that like there's somebody that we care for.
Well, now you moved to Istanbul. Was that it was a little bit after the pandemic started, right?
It was yeah, right in the middle of the pandemic.
But
Yeah.
now what made you choose Istanbul? Because I might be more inclined to go with like a Jamaica. How did we go on Istanbul?
Well, my wife and I are both converts to Islam. She came here to study in about 10 years ago to study the religion. And we have two older kids and then two younger ones. And we wanted to raise the younger ones in an Islamic country and environment. But the cultures are so different. So like the
Yeah.
culture in West Africa is very different than it is in Saudi Arabia, is very different than it is in Malaysia, is very different than it is in East Africa, or, Islam is all over the world and the cultures are very, very different.
Yeah.
The culture in Turkey is really beautiful for children. It's really beautiful for women. They really respect art and music and they see it as part of the spiritual path and tradition. I mean, also like just the particular expression of Islam that we appreciate most is
Yeah.
the dominant norm here. Whereas in Saudi Arabia, it's not like that.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
different in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. That makes sense. Well, now how have the kids done with the move when you went to Istanbul?
Yeah, so the two little ones are basically Turks. Like we have a 5 and a 7-year-old.
Yeah.
They speak fluent Turkish. They eat Turkish food. Like they know they're American. They know they're Black and Puerto Rican. They're proud of all of that stuff. But I mean, in terms of their day-to-day life, they're basically Turkish. Turks love their flag. And
Yeah.
one of our daughters says she's going to be an astronaut so that she could put a Turkish flag on the moon. So it's like, okay, you're officially a Turk at that point. We also have a 16-year-old that it's a little bit more of a challenge, but
Yeah.
so I think that she is really happy to be outside of America. As much as we love America, she's happy to be outside of America, but I don't think she's particularly tied to Turkey. I
Yeah.
think she's just happy to be doing something different.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty wild to think, like you're mentioning both of your younger kids speak Turkish. Like, it makes me think of the immigrant families here in America where you have, because you and your wife don't speak Turkish, right?
Not enough to really do the thing. I mean, I speak enough to go out and, do the things that I need to do,
Yeah.
catch cabs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, our 6-year-old translates for us when we go to the bank or when somebody knocks on our door and needs something.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. So yeah, so my wife's family is from Puerto Rico, and they had this really amazing group of organizers called the Young Lords that are like basically the Puerto Rican version of the Black Panthers. They were inspired by the Black Panthers. But these were young Puerto Ricans who knew how to navigate the system because they translated for their parents at the hospital, at the police department, trying to vote, trying to register for services. So they really kind of knew the system from the time they were young because they had to translate. And so, we are immigrants. Sometimes Americans, when they go to other countries, call themselves expats.
Yeah.
Like, we're not expats, we're immigrants. And in some places where you go, people are really impressed that you're American. Turks are not impressed at all. It's just like, yeah, what do you want? Like, what are you doing?
Make sure you don't mess with the cats. Okay. Well, now this is one of my favorite things to ask as far as like anybody's hometown. But if I'm coming to Istanbul and I ask you, Brother Ali, I'm in Istanbul, where should I eat? What's like your go-to? What would be the place you would tell me to go eat?
There's not one particular place. Like, Turkish food is what it is. It's really, I would say, they're really known for, it's a lot of like grilled meat and rice, and the food is just really like wholesome. It's very hearty. Especially when it's cold outside, it's really good. Nice. I mean, but it's not. I think people I don't think people realize that Turkey is not an Arab country.
Right.
I mean, Lebanon is close, but Lebanese food is very different. It's not Persian. So like, if I've been to Iran, and the food there is incredible. Most like Arab food, if you think about like Arabic food, it's not that. It's its own thing. It's its own culture. So it's a lot of yogurt and a lot of, and it's very
got some like, Mediterranean flair to it.
To a degree, but it's just very simple. It's very earnest. It's very like, it's exactly what it is. Like, when you eat the meat, you're tasting the flavor of the meat. It's not seasoned really. There are some like dipping sauces and things like that. I mean, the breakfast is good anywhere you go. I mean, the bread is good, but it's just really good, solid quality. It's exactly what it is. It's very true.
It's what you need.
It's very true. Their food is very true. Their lentil soup, they're really known for their lentil soup. And there are places where you can get it where the base is like butter and bone broth.
Sounding rich. I like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, especially when it's cold, it's really incredible food. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, now I sort of going along with that, I saw you post about this while you were on tour with Ant just a couple of weeks ago, and you were talking about how people were commenting on your weight loss. And now I hear this was a part of sort of a lifestyle change that you had. Like, when did that sort of lifestyle change happen? What was the approach?
Well, I mean, it's one of the things that I did when I moved here is I just said, so many things that I'd kind of been locked into that I saw it as a complete opportunity to really reimagine everything.
Nice.
And so, I mean, it's been over 3 years in the making, and and there's a person who lives in my neighborhood, another Westerner, who also used to be really heavy. Like, I've been heavy my whole life. It's part of my brand, which is why people are like upset about it. It's kind of like, I'm albino, I'm bald head, I've shaved my head, and I've always been big. Probably my biggest song is a song called Forrest Whitaker, where I talk about all this stuff. And but when I came, this guy had been heavy, and now he runs marathons and triathlons and all kind of other thons.
Wow.
And so I said to him, like, I want to get in shape. And he said, I can tell you some things to do, but until you address your relationship with food, your relationship with your body, your relationship with your emotions, it's just going to be temporary. And so I actually got a therapist that I talked to specifically about this issue. And I just learned a lot of things about myself and my emotions and my relationship with my body.
Nice.
Stuff I didn't necessarily want to know, but once you know it, it's really liberating.
And
And
that,
so yeah,
and
I'm down like 60, 70 pounds, something like that.
nice, man. And that's sort of like you said, it's holistic. So it's sort of the way mentality you approach it. It's nutrition. It's more activity. It's everything.
Yeah, I walk, I mean, between 15 and 20,000 steps a day.
Nice.
I eat once a day. Like I no longer look for food to be the cure for boredom, loneliness, stress,
Mm-hmm.
sadness,
Mm-hmm.
anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
I no longer look to food to be the fun thing that I do. I no longer celebrate with food. Like food is there to fuel my body. And there are times when it can be also delicious, but it's like the number one thing is to feel good living in my body, to invest in myself. And I just didn't realize how much I really loved the non-physical part of myself,
Mm-hmm.
but I did not love the physical part of myself.
Yeah.
You
It's
know?
it's amazing what walking can do too. It's what I tell. So, I was a personal trainer for years.
Ah,
I've got a PhD in exercise physiology, applied
oh, incredible.
physiology, and
Amazing.
that's what I tell when people ask me as far as what should I do. What I give them sort of. I mean, essentially what you just said. Honestly, I tell them a couple of simple things. I say you need to drink water with your meals. You can have something else if you want to drink something else, but you got to have at least one glass of water. You got to eat vegetables with your meals,
Yeah.
and you've got to walk at least 10,000 steps a day. And I tell them if they follow those things, they will see results over time. But it's like you said, you do have to have a mentality change, because that's the thing is I think most people ultimately see themselves reverting back. There's always an end point with a diet, with a workout. It's like I'm going to do this, and
Yeah.
there's this end point of like I want to get to this weight loss, or I want to get this strong, or I want to see this, and it's like, well, no, this is something you've got to approach differently. You've got to do it. You've got to incorporate it into your life. And
Yeah.
yeah.
One of the great pieces of advice that this therapist gave me, her name is Dr. Ebony Butler.
Okay.
And one of the great pieces of advice that she gave me, but she gives it to everybody, is if you have a big goal like what I have, give yourself 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got to the end of the 3 years and I told her like I didn't necessarily hit my goal, but I live differently now. And she was
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, that's the key. And she's like, you probably will hit your goal. Um, but one of the things that you just learn over time, like observing yourself and your own patterns. So one
Mm-hmm.
of the things I realized in maybe year two was that I would go really hard if I knew that I was going to be on stage or if I was going to go back to America for something.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would really see that as a finish line. And then when I would
Mm-hmm.
get done with that situation, I would start chilling and eating again.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so then it's like, okay, well, why? And I realized like, oh, I'm still doing this to look good in front of other people,
Mm-hmm.
to prove to them something, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
realized like, oh, okay, this isn't going to be permanent until it's not about looking good for other people.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't going to be permanent until it's really about how do I want to feel? What kind of place do I want my body to be? And then, yeah, over time you start like, so when I used to eat because
Mm-hmm.
I was stressed or I was thinking about something or I wanted to have some enjoyment or a release or something, now my instinct is like, I have to go for a walk or like I need to do
Mm-hmm.
some push-ups
Mm-hmm.
or, I need to go to the sauna or something. Like
Mm-hmm.
now I know that my body's health can be a source of joy and relief, and to learn different things the body can do. Like, there's all these fun things that I can do with my body. You
Oh
know what I
yeah.
mean? Other than just the quick hit of, eating something bad. And then
Oh yeah.
also, man, another thing that I realized is like, I ate the wrong stuff for so long that
Mm-hmm.
I think I want it. And so every now and then I'll just go and whatever, eat a pizza or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's not even really that enjoyable anymore. Like, why am I still doing this? It's like, I think that this is gonna, and like, I don't really even enjoy this the way that I used to.
It's the after effects. You realize it with the after effects of like the during the pizza, it's delicious, but then afterwards you're like, ooh, I'm moving slow. I feel greasy. I feel ran down. Like but your body. That's the thing, is you can condition it very easily, especially with the strong neurological drive of foods like pizza, like anything that has a lot of fat and other things in it, is that it will drive you to conditioning that, yeah, this is what I need. This is really good. This is what it is. But after a while, like you said, if you train yourself, you get used to healthy food, you realize the benefits of those healthy foods and how good it actually makes you feel and how well your body runs off of it. But there's definitely there's a time there that it takes a while basically to get into that conditioning of, this is healthy food. This is what the body feels good. And I've been doing it for I don't know how many years, 20 years of like you said, you can fall into that. You can go back. You can start eating a couple of bad things, and your body runs better off of the healthy food. You do better with it, but you still every now and then all of a sudden you realize you're like, I'm back in it. Whoops,
Yeah.
I need to get back. But I'm glad to see the healthy lifestyle adopted. It's fantastic. I don't know what. I don't know what some of those fans' complaints are. Anybody getting healthy is a great thing, and it's fantastic to see. Let's talk about the new album, Satisfied Soul. So you just finished the tour, like you mentioned. The album and the tour is with the fantastic Anthony Davis, better known as Ant. We'll get to Ant here in just a second. Let's first talk about the sort of the idea for Satisfied Soul. So you went back to Minneapolis in the spring of 2023. You got an Airbnb, and you were planning on writing an album. And the first thing you thought of was it was going to be about healing. The album was going to be sort of a healing process album. You had some songs, but you had a U-turn when you got there. You just felt grateful once you got there. What was the click? Do you know what made you have that sort of U-turn of feelings?
Well, yeah, I mean, with the time that we left Minneapolis, so I moved around a lot when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I moved to Minneapolis when I was 14, turning 15.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I really that's where it clicked in. That's where I found myself.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I became myself. I converted to Islam right the year that I moved there. And I, quickly became a part of that community. I was a young imam. I used to work full time for the mosque. That's where I'd always been rapping, but that's the place that I found my kind of community, and became successful there. And I felt like the city was celebrating me for a long time. And I also was a community organizer, community and political organizing. I did a lot of that stuff. So during the pandemic, and I also was part of the record label there called Rhymesayers, which is this indie kind of powerhouse. And in the Twin Cities, aside from Prince, it's the biggest thing to happen in the Twin Cities. And, so all those things around the time of the pandemic, starting right before it, they all just kind of started to feel like they were no longer what they once were. So I really relied on all of them. And, we had the pandemic, so we couldn't perform, we couldn't tour. There was the uprising in the Twin Cities with George Floyd. George Floyd's fiance is one of the biggest Brother Ali fans on earth. I've known her for years. And so, he's been to our shows and things like that. Nice. But there was just there was a thing that kind of happened in the Twin Cities where in the wake of that uprising, there was almost like a cancel culture thing that happened within the Twin Cities music scene, where the artists who maybe didn't feel as satisfied or celebrated basically had a campaign saying that the successful artists are gatekeepers. It's a network of abusers. That we ought to be canceled and boycotted, and that we were the problem with it. So, went from really feeling celebrated to, and it was only on the internet. It was only on Twitter.
Yeah.
But during the pandemic, when you can't see people,
It feels, yeah.
yeah, and there was nobody saying, and in my mind, I'm just thinking of all these artists that me and my friends have helped, and all of these like community causes that I've been there for. And nobody was accusing me of any of the stuff that people were being accused of, but also
They didn't single you out to say it's not Brother
no.
LA. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like these are all things that I had dedicated my life to working on. And and I also noticed that and I had kind of been noticing that early on in the label, when I really love the label and they're good people and everyone's got good intentions and there's no scandals or anything like that. But in the beginning, it felt like we were building something that we all owned, that we all had a stake in, that we all had a vote and a voice in. And I started realizing before the pandemic, I don't really have those things in this label. This is a label that is really good at doing certain things. And if those things aren't working for me anymore, and they really weren't. Like I had a couple really rough years.
Yeah.
And I just had a vision for how things should go, and I tried to do that within the label, and I realized, this thing that I'm doing in terms of becoming an educator, a podcaster, a chaplain, organizer, an author, a teacher, that's not what this label is. Like this is a label for underground rappers. And that's just part of what I do now. And I have a very specific set of things that I want this music to be about. And in the beginning I felt like we were completely aligned. And then after a while I realized like we're not always gonna be aligned.
Yeah.
Like some of the artists that drew some of the attention around the people that were saying that we're a problem are artists that their message I didn't feel like aligned with what I thought our message was. And I realized that like, okay, there's been some shift and drift on all parts, you know what I mean? And so I made the decision to step away from the label, which was very difficult because it's a big team and it's a powerful thing. And there's a power dynamic within it. That when you step out of it, people feel betrayed, and there's a lot of frustration, and there's hurt feelings there, and there's almost like a mourning and grieving that happens. So in a lot of ways, I was just like, man, I gave my life in this environment across the board. And it feels like it was really working out for a long time, and then it just stopped.
Yeah.
And so when I left, I had my own resentments and hurt feelings and things. And I knew that I needed to go back and spend time there. So yeah, like you said, I was going to go back and make an album about the process of healing. But the second I touched down, the Airbnb I got was right by a lake. And I just went out and like walked around the lake every day, and I spent time with like the nature of Minnesota. And I realized like, man, I'm completely independent. I set up my own businesses. I run my own touring company and my own production company, basically my own record label.
Yeah.
We were broke during the pandemic, by the way. Like we moved to another country. My parents are gone. Both my parents are gone. My wife's parents live in the projects. Her mother died of COVID. So the only financial kind of safety net that we had, we got 4 kids. One of our kids is special needs. The only financial safety net we had was the record label. We moved to Istanbul with only a few $1,000s in our pocket, not speaking the language, not having any contacts,
Yeah.
And it worked out. And I realized like I'm back in Minneapolis. Me and Aunt are still the best of friends.
Yeah.
I'm financing my own music. I'm making an album with my best friend on my own terms. I have the resources to produce this album, mix it, master it, do the artwork. It worked.
Yeah.
And just from being there, I realized like between me and the creator, everything is good. And so I have no claims, I have no complaints, I have no grievances, I'm 100% good with everybody. I don't know if everybody's good with me, but like literally, I have no grudges, I have no harsh feelings, I
Yeah.
have no, I still have frustrations with the way that people do things.
Yeah.
Um, but on on a soul level, I'm completely satisfied.
Nice.
And so I was gonna make an album about healing, and I realized, oh, I can't do that because I'm healed.
Yeah.
Like I love all these people. I know that everybody involved was just trying to do what they thought was the right thing to do for everybody involved. Just like I gave my life to what we were doing, everybody else was too.
Yeah.
It's just like we had different visions and versions of how we thought it should go.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
we're different people and we have different experiences, and it's all fine.
But now, well, two things. One, I've heard you say, I think before, I think it was on your podcast, but Ant was supportive from the beginning. Like when you guys were talking these things out and you potentially leaving Rhymesayers, he was like, "Hey, whatever you do, man,
Yeah.
I'm good with it."
Yeah, Ant is one of the founders. I'm not. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like Rhymesayers was going already in motion for 5 years when I got there, 4 or 5 years. It wasn't what it became, but it was already established. You
Yeah.
know? And the language at that time was Rhymesayers Collective, that like we all contribute to this, and then we all have some sort of stake in it. But it already was established. And so, Ant was aware of the frustrations I was having and just the straight up. I went in there for over a year, every single week, trying to see, could we salvage this?
Right.
Could we get this to a place where it's workable? Because the biggest fear that I ever had was leaving that situation.
Yeah.
I love those people so much. I became me there. I don't know if I could, I don't think I could have become what I am in any other situation. But that doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that it's healthy forever. It's like
Right.
it was no longer a thing that was working. And and so Ant was aware of that, and he said, "Look, just so you know, if you need to leave, the business name that this music comes out on, that's not why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because of our friendship, our brotherhood, our musical bond." He's like, "I will always be your friend. I will always work with you. I'll always make albums with you. Like,
Nice.
don't think that if you leave, you're leaving this relationship too," which really meant the world to me,
Yeah.
And then him and Slug both made very public shows of supporting me when I left.
Nice.
So the first tour that I did was the Travelers Tour to just announce the podcast. And Slug came out to one of those and did a live on stage podcast
Yeah.
interview. Wouldn't let me pay him. I think I snuck and paid for his hotel, but like he was Slug's is one of the most generous human beings across the board that you could ever meet. Like,
Nice.
and that's part of that's part of what the indignation I felt over like canceling, because even when that door was open and people were being canceled, what they said, the complaints about Slug were that he wasn't policing other artists. Not anything about him specifically.
Right.
It was that, well, you're supposed to be the leader that polices the artist. And it's like, no, you know what I mean? Like, no, that's not what I signed up for him. Like, it's not what I signed up for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But even the people that were saying that, I know that he paid for funerals in their families when people died. I know that they had albums they wanted to put out, and he just came through and just gave them money to put their albums out.
Yeah.
I know that he put them on tour. I know that he advocated for them to be on the Soundset Festival. I know that he told the writers of magazines that they should check, and newspapers to check these people out. I
Yeah.
know that he vouched for them at the blogs. I know
Yeah.
that he, you know, so in any case, um,
Well,
yeah.
you mentioned as far as, I mean, so you've known Ant all that time. You leave Rhymesayers, you're coming back for this album. Had you already, I mean, I'm guessing you'd already talked to Ant at that time and were saying, hey, we're doing this album together, right? It was before you actually came to back to Minneapolis,
Yeah.
that you'd already talked to him about it.
Yeah, I basically said, I would love to do an album together. I told him what the idea was, and we did make two very angry songs the first time that I came back. I came back for something else, not to work on this album.
Right.
And we made two really intense songs, but they're dope. And Ant was just like, yo, okay, all right. He's like, all right, when you come back, I'm going to have music ready for this. Like, I didn't know this is what this was going to be. So when I came back, though,
The music didn't match the lyrics.
well, no, he had made, music like that, but he's always got a lot of music,
Oh yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
so the song called Handwriting that's on so we put 5 other songs. It's a 17-song album. We actually made 18. We took one of the angry ones off because it just didn't fit anymore.
Right.
And that's actually, there's a certain version of the deluxe vinyl album that has that bonus song, like as its own pressed thing.
Nice.
But yeah, so we went back. I went to go spend a month there, and the first thing we made was, 5 of those songs we put out already. One of them's called Handwriting. Handwriting is basically saying that the creator wrote my whole story before any of this happened. It's just being revealed to me, but the creator already knows it. And so it's like every single thing that I've set out to do in my life, I've been given all of it. And none of it makes sense on paper. Really. None of it does. I'm saying, like, it over and over and over again. When I get this strong feeling that I'm supposed to do something, I just jump into it head first. And on paper, it doesn't make sense. It's like, okay, this like fat albino guy, white parents from Minnesota is just gonna not go to not graduate from high school and not go to college and be a rapper. And like, yes, by any stretch, I have done that.
Yeah.
And I've been successful. I'm also gonna be the imam of a black mosque in the inner city. Like, you know what I mean? Black urban American Islam. That happened. I met my wife in New York and basically proposed to her within 24 hours. And my people around me were like, on paper, it doesn't sound like a good idea. But we've been together 21 years and we got 4 kids. And now we moved to Istanbul, and now she's a therapist, and like she broke all the cycles, like the cycles in her family, you know what I mean? All the like vicious cycles and all that kind of stuff. Moving my family to another country. Being with the strongest team and the strongest label in underground independent music, and then leaving it to start my own. And then we just did this whole tour with Ant. We ended at First Avenue in Minneapolis. And First Avenue in Minneapolis is the benchmark for, if you sell it out, that's the mark that this city supports you. And, 22 years or 24 years, the first time I played there at a sold out show was 2000. So 24 years later, to come back there and sell it out. Is like, it just over and over, it just won't stop. You know what I mean?
Nice.
I have this thing now where, like, I didn't graduate from high school. I'm gonna get a master's of divinity with a chaplain license. I'm going to do that. I don't know how. Like, I probably got to get a GED and then a whatever. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I would need to teach at a university and to be a chaplain. And so that's the next thing that I'm going to do.
Jump in it, man. Jump in it. Well, this I want to go back real quick. This is going to be tough, but what's your best memory with Ant? What would you say when you look back at your time knowing Ant? All the shows, all the days in the studio, all of the things. What can you think of? What comes to mind when when somebody brings up your friendship with Ant?
Yeah, I just, it's impossible because, I mean, I guess the number one thing is, I've been working with him, for, working with him, traveling with him. I've never been anything other than elated to just be with him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But can you choose this? This might be even harder. I don't know. But can you choose what you would say as one of your favorite Ant beats? Like one of the ones that you always go back to and you just go, man, that's it right there.
It's really hard. Well, I'm also an enormous Atmosphere fan.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think that Atmosphere is the most underrated hip hop artist as a group.
Oh,
And
yeah.
also I think they're one of the most important and underratedly so groups in hip hop history.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that, Slug is one of the very few underground people. Most of us are underground because of our package.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm amazing. I'm as great as anybody else that's ever done this. But I have a package that is just not going to be sellable to everybody. And that's just is what it is. It's fine. You know, but most of us are underground because of the package we're in.
Yeah.
Slug is the only person that I know that they wanted to make him a celebrity.
Mm-hmm.
They begged him. I mean, like, all of the big. I was there when MTV was doing it. I was there when Rick Rubin was doing it. I was there when the big record labels were doing it. He chose. He said early on in his career, "Never want to blow up because I never want to fall off." And he said, if he knew that if I allow for these entities to make me an international household name, they could take it away whenever they want to. And so for him, it's always about being free and being in control of his own art and life and situation and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for me, maybe the quintessential Atmosphere album is "You Can't Imagine How Much Fun We're Having."
Mm-hmm.
And there's two songs on there. Please have mercy on me. Please have a little mercy on what you gonna do. But there's two of them. There's one called "Pour Me Another," about his relationship with alcohol, and then the other one, I'm just blanking on the name, but it's what you gonna do? Slam doors, break a glass, maybe pass out on the kitchen floor with your naked ass.
I know. Yeah.
It's about deciding to leave a toxic relationship. And the music and the lyrics and everything is like Atmosphere was formed to make that song. It's like it's the greatest song ever made about that subject in any genre. It's one of the greatest hip hop songs ever made. I don't know why I can't think of the name of it.
Where is it on the album? I've got The Arrival, Watch Out, Say Hey There, Bam.
Say Hey There.
There we go.
Yeah, say hey there. We can't stay here. We don't play fair. Hope you take care. And it's funny because there's a couple songs. So they were making that album when I was making Undisputed Truth, both with Ant. Mm-hmm. And so there's always parallels between the stuff that Slug does and the stuff that I do. Mm-hmm. So I had a song called "Walking Away" about my divorce with my first wife. Mm-hmm. It's right around the time he made "Say Hey There." Mm-hmm. So they're parallels of the same song. He also has one called "Little Man" on that album. Mm-hmm. And I've got one called "Fahim," where both of us, like, we're talking to our sons. Mm-hmm. And but yeah, so I mean, in terms of, it's tough to point out one thing with Ant, but that album, that song in particular, I think it might be that.
Nice, nice. Well, now I heard you talk about this with the new album as well. You were talking about Slug and him staying true to his art, staying true to who he is. Another artist that definitely does that I heard you basically were, discussing the album with throughout and like sending tracks to him was Yasiin Bey. How did you get to know Yasiin?
So Yasin, so I actually met Yasin when I was on tour with Doom. And
Okay.
everybody knows that Yasin is the biggest Doom fan on earth.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was on tour with Doom and Yasin, and I'm probably the biggest Yasiin Bey fan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so and my like identity as a person, as an MC is deeply tied to Yasin,
Hmm.
deeply tied to Mos Def. You know, Mos Def, like, so there's a lot of Islam in hip hop. Like, Islam is really at the spiritual heart of hip hop culture and
Hmm.
music. But most of, there's different expressions and understandings of Islam.
Yeah.
And so, what most of the people in hip hop are five percenters. They're from a group called the 5% Nation of Gods and Earths, which
Hmm.
is an offshoot of the Nation of Islam. It is not the same as being in the Nation of Islam, and it's definitely
Yeah.
not the same as being like a Sunni Orthodox Muslim,
Right.
which I am.
Yeah.
And when Yasin came out, Yasin Mos Def is also that. And
Mm.
so when he came out, it was like, yo, he wasn't cursing very much. It was very, very clear. Like, the things he was saying and doing were really signaling to us that, like, this guy is from my community. So
Yeah.
I met him on tour with Doom. And then our paths crossed a lot for a long time, but really started getting close probably during the time of the pandemic, maybe a little bit
Hmm.
before that.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, and we've just become very dear friends. And, so yeah, while I was making this album, I mean, some of the songs are directly from conversations we had.
Nice.
You
But I
know,
mean, getting
yeah,
feedback from an artist like him, I mean, and like you said, I mean, as much inspiration as he's given you over your career, that's got to be awesome.
yeah. Well, that's kind of the story. That's one of the amazing stories of my journey, is that there's people that I love their art, but I don't necessarily feel connected to them as a person.
Yeah.
So, like, I think Jay-Z is arguably the greatest,
Hmm.
all around.
Yeah.
And I've been around Jay-Z, and his music means a lot to me. It's extremely inspirational to me, especially at certain times in my life and career.
Hmm.
And I was around Jay-Z, and I felt no draw to go speak to him.
Hmm.
It's like, I don't need to know the person. I don't need to know him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We don't look at life the same way.
Yeah.
He's just such an inspiring artist. Um, we're not the same. It's fine.
Yeah.
And I've been around other artists that, like, I really love their art, but I don't feel drawn to them. But then
Hmm.
there are
Hmm.
certain people that when I see them, it's like, no, I know you.
Hmm.
Like, our souls are connected. We're
Hmm.
friends. We just haven't met in this plane yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And every single one of those people, from Cornel West to Chuck D to KRS-One to Rakim to Dave Chappelle to, like, the people that mean the most in my heart, where I'm like, I know this person.
Hmm.
Um, every single one of them, like, I just am brought to them, and we deeply connect. And so Yasin is definitely, one of the most important people. And I was talking to Yasin, and he was like, you know why this is happening to you? He said, because poets aren't made, they're born.
Mm.
And they know they can't make you, or they can't break you, because they didn't make you. He was like, they're terrified of you because they know that you will say what's true regardless, and you have no care or concern. Nobody owns you. No one can take anything away from you.
Yeah.
Nobody, and that's what him and Dave Chappelle have really struggled and sacrificed a lot to be that person as well.
Yeah.
It's just that, Chappelle got rich doing it. Yasin got mildly, like, above average doing it. I'm working class level. We're at different levels, but we're all got the same freedom.
Yeah, yeah.
And so like we got off the phone and I wrote that song immediately. A poet is born, he isn't made. Outpouring of hate, because you know you'll never break what you didn't create. Can't imitate a clone in a state. Fool's gold is only safe till they open the safe. Just a token, a taste. A sparkle in the dark makes it luminous. A dab of truth, or do you spit a clue in the clutch? I made it, sent it to him right away. And I was like, I should give you a writing credit on this. And he was like, yo, when did you make this? I'm like, right now. Like, we hung up. I wrote the song, recorded it. You know what I mean? I made the song literally in probably 20 minutes. Like, I sent it. I could look at our conversation, but I probably sent it to him 20 minutes after we hung up.
Man.
And it's like that, you know?
Yeah.
There's another one where we were just talking about people's pain. And I said, you know, there's no such thing as patience without pain.
Yeah.
And there's no such thing as, you know, grace and like all this kind of stuff without somebody being wronged. And so the title track, I said, I view it from the angle of an angel, the greatness of the grateful and the patience of the painful. You know, and I sent him that and he was like, didn't you just say that? And I was like, yes, that's what I'm saying. Like you're part of this album. You know what I mean? So he does the intro.
Nice.
Yeah,
I like
the beginning of the album is him introducing the album.
I like it. I like it. Is I mean, you mentioned him. Is Dave the best storyteller you've ever been around?
Yes.
I had to ask. I feel like he's just the ultimate. Whether he's on stage or whether he's just talking to somebody, it's just encapsulating, man. Encapsulating.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And then but he's kind of always doing it.
Yeah.
And he always sees everything as a moment, you know, and like, you know, he basically built himself a private like club in Ohio called the Shack. And it's like so he brings people to Ohio. And during the pandemic, he built like an outdoor venue.
Yeah.
That everybody could perform at, so that, you know, and it was distanced and all this kind of stuff. But then there's this thing called the Shack, where it's basically a small little like club, but it's his private thing. He has a DJ, all that kind of stuff. And during the pandemic, like they had Chappelle summer camp, he was like bringing artists. He had private jets going back and forth from New York to LA constantly. And he's bringing in everybody from, you know, everybody loves Dave. So it'll be like Questlove, John Hamm, you know what I mean? Like all these people going in and out of there. Comedians, musicians, Muslims, you know, people like me and Amir Suleiman that are like not extremely, that we're not famous, but within our world, like we are highly respected within our world. And Dave loves us, you know, and Dave loves to encourage us and show us to people and stuff. So, but I mean, yeah, he would just, throughout the days and nights of that thing, he would just stand up and make an announcement and just be like, you know, what we're doing is very special. This is this kind of thing that, you know, you're not supposed to be able to do. And moments like this are something that you're going to want to hold on to. Because, you know, and like really like making sure that everybody understood the gravity of what was being done culturally as human beings. You know what I mean? And then he'd say something really stupid or hilarious, but it's very profound. And you know, he's always looking for ways to touch people, and he's also an extremely generous person. Not only, you know, and I say that both him and Slug are generous, and people feel like, well, yeah, they're successful and they're probably rich and they're probably. Those guys are generous in ways that money can't get you. Yeah. And they're generous when they have no money. When I met Slug, he was broke and he was generous then. Mm-hmm. And Dave has had times where he's really struggled, and he's, you know, as far as I know, he's always been that way.
Yeah. He just always, to me, the moment is never too big for Dave. It's when, and like you said, he's always able to see the humanity through any celebrity thing, any event. He's just able to cut through it. And it's, oh man, I know Neil Brennan one time brought up when he was talking about Dave, he was getting ready to perform like some giant 10,000, 15,000 person event. And he's just talking to Neil, smoking a cigarette before he goes on stage. And he's like, they're just having literally just like a regular conversation. He's like, all right, I gotta go perform, and just turns around and just goes like nothing's happening, like he's going, and you're like, there's 15,000 people out there, man, like it's crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, he literally, like, very similar to what I was talking about, but it's like when you live your art form, when you live your craft, you don't need to get ready, like you're always doing it. And so I mean, the same way that I can have a conversation with Yasiin, send him a song 20 minutes later, you can be talking about something with Dave, and then he'll walk on stage literally 20 minutes later, and he'll have a fully thought out, hilarious stand-up routine based on it in the moment, you know.
Yeah.
Which is why, I mean, he'll never run out. But that man does stand up every day of his life, and he has been since he was like 16 years old. And like I said, even when he's not doing stand up, he's always like, hey everybody, here's what we all need to be focused on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Either here's what's funny, or here's what's sad, or here's what's profound.
Yeah.
It's just, he lives that.
Yeah.
He lives it all the time. So when he's on stage, it's like,
it's just him. It's just his life.
It's different, man. It's like, Jimi Hendrix got kicked out of movie theaters for bringing his guitar in and playing the guitar. Like he played his guitar in every moment, because people that lived with him in the village and said he would fall asleep on his back. There's like 13 people living in a 1-bedroom apartment. He'd fall asleep on his back playing the guitar, and then like his eyes would be closed, and you'd be like, he's drifting off to sleep, but he's playing until you don't know he's sleeping until his hand stops moving. And then before his eyes open, his hand starts moving on the guitar again. So it's like, that's why Jimi Hendrix is Jimi Hendrix. That's why Dave Chappelle is Dave Chappelle. And somebody like that can recognize somebody like me, and to them, it doesn't matter that he's a millionaire and I'm gonna feed my family in air. You know what I mean? To them, it does not matter. It's like, we're both masters.
Yeah.
To them, you know what I mean? Like,
he sees the art, he sees the creation,
and the dedication. You know.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, speaking of, you completed the album on the night of Power. Very special. Did you? I mean, was it one of those things that sort of went back to handwriting?
You really know about me. Did you get all this from the podcast? Did I say this stuff in the podcast?
You did.
Okay. Wow. This is like, this is great, man.
I mean, did you see that? It's sort of like you were talking about with handwriting. Is it one of those things like, okay, I didn't see this coming, but I see why this happened now?
Yeah, and it's not even that I chose to complete it. Ant was in the studio in Minneapolis. Like, I had turned in the final vocals. I was in West Africa with my teacher and my family, spending the last 10 days of Ramadan there. And so Ant, and then there's a studio engineer named Joe Mabbitt that's done most of Ant's stuff, most of Me and Atmosphere stuff.
Yeah.
And they just happened to finish it on the 27th night of Ramadan.
Nice.
Which is a big deal,
Yeah. And
the term satisfied soul is from the Quran. So basically, there's different stages of development of the spiritual self. The first kind of rudimentary one is the commanding soul, the demanding soul, the self, like the lower self that just demands whatever it wants. And then and then the next phase, which is what most of us in our spiritual path are, is the self-accusing soul, where we have a sense of like personal accountability for our own growth, but then also our own inconsistencies and things like that. And then when we've arrived, it's satisfied soul, where we're satisfied with whatever. We just know that the creator is writing every moment, and we're satisfied with whatever is happening. Not that there's not wrong or evil or injustice happening, and we have to fight it when it happens. So it's not that, it's just the understanding that this is the particular struggle, battlefield, opportunity that's being created for us in this moment. So we're happy with whatever the creator is doing, and that the creator is satisfied with us. So satisfied and satisfying. And that's the goal. It's not a claim, but it's like, but I get glimpses of that. You know what I mean? Where it's like, it's a very good sign when people have directly harmed you, and you legitimately, you're so grateful to the creator. Like, I'm so grateful to God that there's no way for me to be mad at anybody. You know what I mean? It's just like, I've been given too much. Like, if I take on a scale and take everything that's been given to me by the creator, and then take this one lie that this person told, or this even if it's a serious thing, like there are people that have really seriously harmed me.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that's going to mean for them with God. You know what I mean? Like, I believe in a day of judgment. I believe in a reckoning. But I can't say what's between them and God. But I know I have no claim against that person.
Yeah.
In this life and the next, I have no claim. I don't need anything. I don't need justice from anybody. I don't need retribution from anybody. Well, literally everyone. I have no claim against anybody.
Well, speaking on that, you mentioned it, and we talked about it just a little bit, but the Satisfied Soul Tour, 22 dates, less than a month. You just finished it up. That's a whole lot of time in a van. Are you feeling satisfied afterwards? I mean, how good did it feel to get back out there? How good were the tour stops? Are you feeling good afterwards?
Yeah, overall, yes, very much. Numbers were a little down across the board, everywhere except for Minneapolis. Numbers were a little down. They're still very, very solid, still very reliable. My booking agent was like, do not be stressed or worried about this. But even the local promoters were saying like, hey, this is great. Like, you're doing great. You're still very, very solid, reliable touring act. It did make me think like, okay, well, a couple things. One, I'm touring might not be the reliable thing that it historically has been. And it's not because it's just that the fans are in a different place in life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I notice even like with me really taking care of myself, when you start to get into your like mid 40s, moving towards late 40s, it's like the distance and the gap between people who work hard on improving themselves and the people that have kind of settled into what it just becomes really apparent.
Oh no, yeah, it definitely is. I tell all the time, like the older you get, the more that you take care of yourself, that gap, like you said, the bigger it is. And my parents are in their 70s, and I tell them all the time, like, some of the people that I see in their 70s, it's hard to believe they're the same age as my parents because of, like you said, lifestyle differences. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I there's times where I still tour with other people from my, kind of like cohort of artists.
Yeah.
And I mean, some of us, like, like people every single night told me and Ant, like, you guys look better than you've ever looked. You know what I mean? Because also Ant's been clean and sober for 10 years. Yeah. He's all, and both of us are on some like eat once a day, go to Whole Foods. We're eating salad and fish, and you know what I mean? Yeah. And we drink nothing but water, except for once or maybe twice a day coffee. And like, that's it. You know what I'm saying? You just, and then also people that work on their careers and like are still inspired, and people, you know, you get around certain artists and it's like, man, you just don't have it anymore. But with the fans, it's like we are really dependent on our fans. And so I noticed that there's just, you know, there's less. However, the people that are there are the most tuned in people. They're the most connected.
Yeah.
You know, there was a time where like we were the new hot thing, and so you know, we go to a place and there like I go to Salt Lake City and there'd be 1,200 people there. A lot of them are there for reasons. They think that this is something that I don't. They see me in ways that I don't see myself.
Right.
You know what I mean? And just very frankly, like in the early mid 2000s, there was a lot of white people that were just like, yeah, finally, you know, white guys doing their thing. And they had opinions and feelings about race and culture and hip hop that is like, I'm like, man, some of these people like
You're
me for,
way off base, man.
yeah, some people like you for racist reasons.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, you're the good rap.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I know too much about the history of race and culture and music in America.
Yeah.
Like I already know about Pat Boone and Elvis Presley, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've seen this movie before.
Yeah.
You're not going to do that to me. You know, so I'm at a place now, and also there was a time where the 5-year age gap between me and my listeners was big. So like when they were 20 and I was 25, it's almost like I was an adult and they weren't yet.
Yeah.
Whereas like, you know, now if they're 40 and I'm 45, it's not quite the same.
Right.
And so like there was less people overall, but the people that were there, I was like, wow, I feel more comfortable and understood than ever before.
Nice.
And so that was really dope. And then yeah, to go back to Minneapolis and sell out First Avenue is just an unequivocal success. It's like that's a triumphant moment.
Yeah. Had to feel good. Had to feel good. Well,
I
brother
couldn't even
Ali,
process it till it was done.
you
Like
processed
in the
now?
moment I was just observing, you know.
Yeah. Well, brother Ali, I don't want to take up any more of your time, man, but I really do appreciate you coming on and talking with us today.
This was really, really cool. Thank you so much for caring and paying attention and listening. And yeah, it was really, really cool talking to you.
Absolutely. Listeners, make sure you get Satisfied Soul February 14th. Right now, let's take a listen to my personal favorite of the 5 that have came out so far, Head, Heart, Hands, right here on the Doc G Show. And we are back here on the Doc G Show. Brother Ali. There we go, Mike. Brother Ali. Fantastic. You know, just the new album, great. And just a lover of hip-hop himself, you know. And it's wild. I know you didn't catch the end of that interview, but it's wild. We talked about Yasiin Bey, Most Def, that we have had as a birthday suit on this show.
That's a fact.
Commenting on his rap, like them becoming good friends, and him giving him pointers on you know his lines and being impressed by his hip hop. That's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
Like that.
For sure.
I mean that's wild. And then all the while, you're hanging out with Dave Chappelle too.
That's right.
You're hanging out with one of the best, man. You're hanging out with one of the best, and it's just like we were talking about before. Listeners, this is you weren't privy to this conversation. Me and Mike were talking before we came on air. We were talking about honesty on stage and comedians, and Dave is probably the best at just coming out and being his honest self at whatever he's feeling at any time on stage. And I think you see it every single time he comes on stage. And Brother Ali talked about it. It was pretty cool. Pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. I got to be honest. I wouldn't mind going to Istanbul, checking it out.
Oh, yeah.
I'm very interested in their cat population.
That's a fact.
That is, I asked Brother Ali about it, and I got to be honest. I would like to be in a place that cats just sort of hang out and wander into different places and say, what's up?
So true.
That would make my day so much better if I was just sitting in a meeting and all of a sudden a cat just came up to me and I could just pet him while I was talking to somebody and just make me very happy. And you can do that.
Wonder what the bird population's like there.
Zero.
0 birds.
0 birds. No, the only birds are crows and pterodactyls. Those are the only birds that still exist. Yes, pretty much. Yeah, birds of prey. Any bird that is under a pound is definitely dead.
So funny.
Yeah, but very cool. Thanks to Brother Ali for stopping by the show. We really appreciate it. Mike, very exciting. We need to move on to the fastest growing topic in the world.
Mike C, Tap 3.
Woo! Oh my gosh, Mike, a banger this week.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness, a banger. So, listeners, this week on Mike C Top 3, we are doing the top 3 hip-hop / R&B 90s one-hit wonders.
Yes.
Now, let me explain to the listeners. We originally said we're just going to do 90s. And after like 10 minutes of digging into it, I was like, no, that's way too hard. I can't do that. So I texted Mike and was like, hey, we're just going to do hip-hop and R&B. And I got to say, that was way too hard, too. That was way too hard. Mike, before we get to the actual top 3, I have 22 honorable mentions. So I've got a few of them, Mike. Now, before I give you my list, sometimes people ask, what's a one-hit wonder, Well, so for me, I tried to go by the rule of if their song went above the top 40, right? So the song had to go above the top 40, and then they don't have any other songs that get above the top 40. That's a one-hit wonder, right? That's technically a one-hit wonder. Now, I broke the rules with a couple of these because a couple of them, let me see if I have how many I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 of them that had more than one song that went over top 40 status. But I feel like people only know them for that one song. And basically the other song that went above the top 40 got there off of the legs of the other song,
Okay.
They were really popular, and so people are just like, I'll listen to this song too. And so it went up a little bit, but that's not what everybody knows from them, Mm-hmm. So, and then there are, let's see, on my list, there are 2 that didn't actually reach top 40, but I feel like they're such pivotal songs. I was like, I gotta put them on there.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, Mike, here's what I'm thinking. I'm gonna tell you my 22 honorable mentions, and do you have honorable mentions?
I have 2.
So let's
I have
see.
no rules.
If the honorable mentions that you have are not on mine, you can list them afterwards. And if they are on mine, you can let us know which ones they are. So here my honorable mentions are. I'll try to do them pretty fast, Mike. First honorable mention, Rex and Effects, Rump Shaker. Went to number 2 on the Hot 100. Next on the list, DJ Cool, Let Me Clear My Throat. That's one that didn't actually reach top 40. Yeah, they didn't reach the top 40, surprisingly. Next on the list, Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, Good Vibrations. Yes! He had other songs that broke the top 40. Still put him there. Next, Young MC, Bust a Move. Next on the list, US3, Cantaloupe. That didn't break the top 40.
Nope.
Next on the list, Skilo, I Wish. That was 13. Next on the list, Biz Markie, Just a Friend. Next on the list,
good one.
Snow, Informer. Next on the list, Adina Howard, Freak Like Me. Next on the list, D-Light, Groove is in the Heart. Yes! Next on the list, Onyx, Slam. Next on the list, Do or Die, Poe Pimp. Next on the list, Big Pun, Still Not a Player. Now, a lot of people will contest that one, and they're like, Big Pun is not a one-hit wonder. Technically, that's the only song he had that reached the top 40. So, there you go.
Hey, Doc G, real quick. I'm sorry. Did you say Groove is in the Heart? Is that the song?
Groove is in the Heart.
Okay, cool. All right.
You know, that's the one with the awesome bass line.
Oh, yeah. I wrote it down to listen to it. Yeah.
Next on the list, Crisscross, Jump. Next on the list, MC Tucker and DJ Irv, Where They At? Now, that didn't even reach the Billboard charts, but I put it on there because that was the start of New Orleans bounce. That was like what everybody ripped off from New Orleans as far as New Orleans hip-hop, so I had to put it on there. Next on the list, Everlast, What It's Like. Next on the list, Vanilla Ice, Ice Ice Baby.
Sweet.
Now, again, he technically had another hit, Funky Music. Play That Funky Music broke in the top 40, but nobody remembers him for Play That Funky Music. They only remember Ice Ice Baby. Next on the list, Crucial Conflict, Hey. Next on the list, Ini Kamoze, Here Comes the Hot Stepper. Next on the list, Tag Team, Whoop, There It Is. Next on the list, 95 South, Woot, There It Is.
Oh.
You know what the amazing thing is, Mike? Both of those, they did not know about the other songs. And both of them say, we had no idea the other person was making this song. And you know where the term "whoop there it is" and "whoop there it is" came from? Strip clubs.
Oh.
Every time the ladies would turn around and show their goods, whoop, there it is. That was what they would say. And I was like, I was like, that turns down the sexuality for me. I don't know. That's not very enticing when there's a DJ over there like, whoop, there it is. What do you think about that, guys? Like, but that's apparently where it is.
That's what it is.
Next on the list, Lord Tariq, Peter Guns, Deja Vu. And then last on my honorable mentions list, Craig Mack, Flavor in the Ear. There you go.
All right.
Mike, did I not mention any of your honorable mentions?
No, you hit them all.
Okay. I thought I might with that. I thought I might with them.
Yeah.
Mike, I will go ahead and say, if you listeners, if you take all of our mentions of this and make it into a playlist, you'll be the coolest person ever.
Yeah. You will also have the skating rink playlist.
You'll be the
Part of it.
coolest. You'll be the coolest person ever with people ages 35 to 55.
Yes.
They will all think you are dope. So dope.
Yeah.
Most everybody under 35 will think you're weird as but that group will think you're dope. Anyways, Mike, let's get to the top 3.
Let's do it.
This was so hard, Mike. I went back and forth, and I do want to say it was very tough for me not to put Adina Howard, Freak Like Me, in the top 3, because that song is an effing jam. And I was like,
I just discovered that song. I mean, I definitely remember listening to it, but I rediscovered it this morning when I was looking for my top 3. And
oh, it's so good, man.
Great song.
It's so good. And Big Pun, Still Not a Player, is such a jam. That one, I was like, I want to put it in the top 3, man. I want to do it. And then lastly, Snow Informer. Just because Snow Informer was such a big song at the time. I mean, when that song came out, and it blew everybody away because this dude was speaking gibberish. The whole song's in gibberish. It's wild.
Yes! What was the song?
Informer.
Okay, gotcha.
Informer, a little player, I like you boom boom down.
Oh yeah, I love that song.
Yeah, man. Anywho, okay, my number 3, Mike. I can't believe this is at number 3, but it turned out my number 3. Return of the Mac, Mark Morrison. Oh my gosh, Mike. And I'm sure this is on your top 3, so you don't need to say anything about it. Well, since it is on your top 3, let us know. What number are we talking here, Mike?
Number 1 for me.
Number 1.
Yeah. It's unskippable. I mean, that song is just so good. And sometimes it's in my head, and then I have to listen to it, and then I'm so happy I did.
I mean, it gives you so much confidence.
It's got everything.
It's so much swagger. And it's just like, and like, that's the thing is anytime I am like, if Mike, I never have went to a class reunion, but if I went to a class reunion, this is what I would play nonstop in my headphones for the hour and a half before that, just sitting there. Just getting ready, because that's what you're doing.
Is that by choice? You didn't go to any class reunions? You were like, I don't want to see these.
Yeah, I'm not interested.
Interesting.
No offense to any folks that I went to school with that are listening, but I just
we just lost a listener.
Well, like, I mean, to me, Mike, they don't care, and if they do care what I'm doing, I'm like, what? Come on, guys. Yeah, you don't care. Like, I don't care what you're doing. You don't care what I'm doing. It's
you don't
cool.
care now, just like you didn't care back then.
Well, like, I mean, if we, it's one of those things. I'm like, if we really did care, we'd keep up outside of that, and we don't, so it doesn't matter. Like, you know, that's my 2 cents. But anyways, Mike, that doesn't matter. What's your number 3?
It was in your honorable mentions, but it was I Wish by Skee-Lo. Yeah, great song. Great song. Wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. I wish I had a girl with a kid. I would call her.
Yeah, that's it, man. That's it. It is that's one of those, like, I don't think it is as iconic as some of the ones that I have in my top 3, but I think it's like, it's so era defined.
Great
Everybody
video.
knows
Great music
it.
video too.
It is a good video too.
Music video, and I think it hits for me because when when that song came out, I was a tiny little kid, and I was like, you know what? I wish I was a little bit taller. That was the only lyric I took from that song, but you know,
Shaq sitting there going, no, I don't. I wish I was shorter, actually. A little too big. Mike, my number 2. Now, again, oh my Lord. I toss back and forth on which one of these, and really all 3. Because like you said, the Return of the Mac, I could easily see it number 1. That's fine. Like, it's such a jam.
It is.
It's such a jam. But this 1 and 2, once I got to these, it got really hard. Number 2 for me, though, I got 5 on it. Luniz.
Okay.
Oh, my gosh, such a jam. Mike, this is the iconic weed song. Like, it's the iconic weed song. It's such an original chorus. I got 5 on it. Oh, it's just so, I mean.
I didn't know it was a weed song. I've never really listened to the lyrics of it.
I got 5 on it, man. $5.
Okay.
Put 5
Nice.
on it. You
All
know?
right.
That's, it's just, I mean, it's like, and it's one of those, like, you're just like, where did this come from? Because they didn't have anything else. You never got anything else out of the Luniz. And that song was just such a banger.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. And it is so, like, it gives me all the vibes. And, you know, imitation is always the biggest form of flattery, you know? And with that, this song has been sampled by so many other hip-hop artists. Like, the background of that song is in so, and like, you know, It's only 30 years old, and it's been sampled I don't know how many times by current hip-hop artists. I know, it's like Chris Brown and The Game did it. That was a big one that reused it. Like, it's just, just a jam. I love it so much. So much. Mike, your number 2.
My number 2 was Back in the Day by Ahmed Lewis.
Yeah.
Back in the day when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore, but some days I sit. Yeah, that song is a jam. I like it. I don't have any stats or any background story, but it just hits.
I thought about putting it. I should have put it on my honorable mention. I feel ashamed that I didn't have it on the honorable mention. Because it too was on a lot of lists that I looked at. But that's the thing is somehow it slipped through all the songs that because everything else on this list I listened to constantly when they came out, or at least relatively close to when they came out. That one somehow, I don't know, it slipped through. I missed it. So, but it is a good song. It's a jam. It's an absolute banger.
Yeah, it is.
So Mike, your number 1, repeat it for the listeners.
Return of the Mac by Mark Morrison.
Oh gosh, man. And I actually looked this up. I don't know if you saw this, but I was looking at things, and mainly I was looking up Mark Morrison because I was I wanted to make sure that he didn't have any other hits that I missed, that I was oh, does he have 25 other number 1 singles that somehow I missed? And I was going through his Wikipedia page, and in his personal life, it just has October 2022, Morrison bought a house in Florida paying $2 million in cash.
Huh?
What? That is a Mac move, Mike.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to buy this house.
He's got those. He's the one guy that's probably, even though he's getting a penny a stream, he's getting $1 million. That song was so good that he's getting $2 million worth of streams, at least.
He's definitely getting a lot of residuals and a lot of licensing. Sure. People still use it on other things too.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild. I mean, that's like Luniz, man. You look at Luniz on Spotify, they haven't had a song other than I Got 5 on it. They literally have 4 million monthly listeners. 4 million monthly listeners because of that one song. It has over 500 million streams. Just I Got 5 on it.
I wish you could do that with stand-up. There's no joke that just people will play.
You're
not going to listen to it. Yeah.
You're not going to have one viral singer that's just going to bring in people. That's not going to do it. But Mike.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, did you see this on Mark Morrison's Wikipedia? Anything about his criminal history?
Yeah, I think it had a little bit of it on there.
I don't know
the legal issues.
I don't even. But is it true, or maybe we should do this on the next one, that he hired a lookalike to serve for him for his community service, and he got.
I don't see that here, but that's it. Mike.
We'll come back.
Previously on the Doc G show. I'm gonna look into that. Mike, my number 1.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, this gave me all the feels, and when I went back to it, I was just like, yeah, that's the jam right there. Number 1. Jump Around, House of Pain. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Now,
jump.
For some of the keen music observers out there, you might be like, hey, number 1 was on your honorable mentions. No, it was not. Because, Mike, if you didn't know, Everlast was in House of Pain. He was the main rapper in House of Pain. It was Everlast, but it was a group. House of Pain was Everlast, DJ Lethal, and Danny Boy. DJ Lethal actually went on to be in Limp Bizkit. Fun fact. Yes.
Cool.
Yes. But, oh my gosh, Mike. My brother had a House of Pain poster. Oh, I remember it. They look so bad on there. The camera was angled down, and they were looking down at the camera. And Everlast had his sleeve all out, and he had his giant tattoo, his Eric tattoo on there. And I was like, oh, and he had a nose ring. And, that was like 1993. I was like, what is this crazy guy with his nose ring? This is awesome. One day I'm going to be like that. And I was.
There you go.
Was. But, man, my goodness, Mike. And just, that was actually good rapping right there. That's solid rapping in that song, especially when you look when it came out in 92. That was some evolved lyricism as far as that wasn't some goofy white guy throwing down bars. That was some real rap right there. And that's just such a good song. And you go back and listen to it. It's the first song after the intro on the actual full album, and the lead up to it is so good. Like, it has this intro for a minute. Oh my gosh, I just ordered it on vinyl after we put this down because I was like, I got to hear it on my speakers.
Yeah.
I got to hear this, because it's just,
It's different for me because it was like the song that caused the divorce. Well, it wasn't the song, but it was the song in Miss Doubtfire that was like, she came home and she's like, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
I've had enough.
Now, for me, I saw it and I was like, it's the song that caused fun at that party.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So
but
funny.
my gosh, such a good song. Good top 5 or good top 3, Mike. Good top 3. Mike, next week, we decided before you let me know, you're like, I didn't really look into any others. And I was like, that's fine. We'll go more one-hit wonders. I haven't been satisfied yet. So let's do, what do you want to do? Do you want to do 90s pop? Or do you want to do 90s rock?
90s pop. 90s
okay,
pop.
90s pop. Now, can we include, that might be tough. We'll see, listeners. Play it by ear, but we might have rock in there. I'm going to start
rock
looking.
Pop. We'll do rock pop.
Well, I don't know if it depends on how many there are. I don't want to commit just to both.
Gotcha.
We'll see. Anyways, 90s one-hit wonders, rock pop for now. Okay. Mike,
Cool.
Before we wrap it up for this week, we got 2 birthday suits. The first one I don't think you'll get because it's a foosball player, a retired football player.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think you're going to get this one. But we'll give it a shot. He was born on January 15th, Mike, 1979 in Dallas, Texas. He is a Hall of Fame quarterback. He played 20 seasons in the NFL. 15 of those were with the New Orleans Saints. That was the majority of his career with New Orleans Saints. Shorter guy, brown hair. Any ideas, Mike?
No. Sorry.
Okay, I don't think you'll get it from any of the other clues then if I give it to you. It is Drew Brees, Mike. Drew Brees. You know Drew Brees?
No.
Easy breezy. He set a lot of records, Mike. I'll just fast forward. I got some info about his leading up to the NFL. But once he got into the NFL, he was the 32nd pick by the San Diego Chargers. He played for the Chargers, but he wasn't really celebrated until he was traded to the Saints. Then once he was traded to the Saints, he played 15 seasons, like I said. And during those 15 seasons, he was the passing touchdowns leader in the NFL 3 times, the completion percentage leader 6 times, the passing yards leader 7 times, and he was a 13-time Pro Bowler and a 2-time Offensive Player of the Year winner and a 2-time Super Bowl champion.
That's right.
Considered one of the best quarterbacks of all time.
Nice.
He, of course, is usually behind our man Tom Brady. But he's up there. He's right up there. And for the most of Tom Brady's career, I would say people probably put Drew above him. Like, Tom really had to win some people over before he put, not any Patriots fans, but other folks out there, But anyways, shout out to Drew Brees, turning 46. 46 for Drew Brees. I've almost made him very old. Mike, this one you might be able to get.
Okay.
I think you can get this one. He's known as Mr. Worldwide or Mr. 305.
Pitbull?
Pitbull is correct. Yes.
One of them.
There you got the first one. I just didn't accept your first answer.
Okay,
on it.
I got you. That's great. Thank you.
You got it eventually. That was 2 there. You just didn't get Drew Brees. Pitbull, born on January 15, 1981, and where do you think, Mike?
Miami,
Florida. That's correct. His parents were both immigrants from Cuba. He grew up being influenced by the Miami bass sound and, of course, rappers from outside of the Miami area like Nas and Snoop Dogg. Our birthday suit wearer started rapping when he was in high school. He was signed to Luke Records in 2001. He met Little John in 2002. Little John liked him and gave him a track on his album Kings of Crunk. This helped our birthday suit wearer release his first album, Miami. I remember when that album, dating myself a little bit, I remember when that album came out when I was in undergrad, and my goodness, it was a banger, Mike.
Yeah.
It had the streets of Miami on fire.
So true.
With singles like Damn It Man, Back Up, Toma, Kulo. Woo! Woo! Then, around 2010, he announced to the world he was a pop star. I don't know if you remember that, but he just sort of was like, hey, I'm a pop star. I do dance and pop music. And you're like, what? You can just do that? You can just be like, that's what I do now. And it worked, Mike. In 2013, he released Timber with Kesha, a banger.
Yeah, it was.
My goodness. That chorus gets in your head. I love that song. I am not afraid to admit it. It's one of my favorite, just pop songs. I love that chorus. It is awesome. Kesha did an amazing job. Anywho, it became a number 1 hit in 18 different countries, Mike.
Wow.
2014, he came up with the official theme song for the FIFA World Cup. He was the theme song creator. He has sold over 100 million singles worldwide. His videos on YouTube have over 15 billion with a B views. He also has his own station on Sirius XM.
Cool.
Pitbull. There we go. Happy birthday, Pitbull, turning the big 4-4. A big 4-4. There we go, Mike. It has been an eventful show, but we need to wrap it up. I have been your host, Doc G. With me, as always, the one, the only, Mikey Maximus, the father. Charette.
Always a pleasure, Doc G. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And until next week, zip it up and zip it out.
Zippity-doo-dah.